All right, let's try this again. Second time. Happy Thanksgiving. Let's try this thing again. Here we go again. Here we go again. All right. Let me see if I can do this all right. So I'm not going to put that thing on. I got to do the other thing. I got to hit another button. I got to hit a button. Here we go again. Here we go again. So hit that. And hit that. And hit that. And there you go. All right. So that. So then all right. I tried to clear my pipes. I gave it a couple minutes to try to settle up. And this is so growing up, we had the old record player and had these big things, and they were called we call them records. Record players. And these are things you had to service. You had all sorts of gears. And the kids nowadays, I'm probably sure, or know more about it than the parents or some old head like me. They've got things. They've got stores where they've refurbished old ones and all that. And I bet you could go, find one somewhere. And original versions, I'm probably they're like $1 million. But of course, you can find it on YouTube, right? But it was one that, so it was like Thanksgivings. We would play this for some reason. I don't know. It was our Thanksgiving song. I don't even remember why. But it's Thanksgiving. And it was, I guess, maybe one of those times when, we had a little extra time to kill as a family. And everybody was, eating and having leftovers and everything like that. And it was like a time of silence. And I don't think anybody really ever even said a thing. I think it was like 20 minutes, 18, 20 minutes long. But it seemed like forever, growing up. Because nobody said a thing. When you look around, you're like, nobody's saying anything. Everybody's just listening. And then I guess it was something eventually our family grew out of. And it wasn't, oh, yeah. Well, it also came on the radio. At some point, it came on the radio. And for somehow it became like a Thanksgiving thing. I think it wasn't DC 101. Was it DC 101? I don't recall. It was a station, classic rock station or something like that would play it. And it was like around 11 a.m. I think that was if I'm correct, DC time, uh, District of Columbia and the surrounding area that could pick up the signal would get it around 11 a.m. If I'm correct. I mean, there was like parades and stuff like that, but it may have been 11, maybe 1. I don't recall exactly. But in any case, I was thinking about it. I was like, one of these things was like, it's Thanksgiving, and this is Alice's Restaurant Massacre. So I was just going to read it. It's a song by Arlo Guthrie, and this song is called Alice's Restaurant. It's about Alice and a restaurant, but Alice's Restaurant is not the name of the restaurant. That's just the name of the song. And that's why I called the song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Just walk right in, it's around the back. Just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Now, it all started 2 Thanksgivings ago. It was on 2 years ago on Thanksgiving. But when my friend and we went up to visit Alice at the restaurant, but Alice didn't live in the restaurant. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant in the bell tower with her husband Ray and Dasher the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where all the pews used to be, and having all that room, well, seeing how they took out all the pews, they decided they didn't have to take out the garbage for a long time. We got up there and we found all the garbage in there, and we decided it'd be a friendly gesture for us to take that garbage and down to the city dump. So we took a half ton of garbage, put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed toward the city dump. Well, we got there, and there's a big sign, a chain across the dump that says, "Closed on Thanksgiving." And we had never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before. And with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset, looking for another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one till we came to a side road. And off the side road, on the side of the side road, there was another 15-foot cliff. And at the bottom of the cliff, there was another pile of garbage. So we decided that one big pile is better than 2 little piles. And rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. And that's what we did. We drove back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat. Went to sleep, didn't get up until the next morning. When we got a phone call from Officer Obie, he said, "Kid, we found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half ton of garbage and just wanted to know if you had any information about it." And I said, "Yes, sir, Obie. I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage." After speaking to Obie for about 45 minutes on the telephone, we finally arrived at the truth of the matter and said that we had to go down and pick up the garbage, and also had to go down and speak to him at the police officer station. So we got into the red VW microbus with the shovels and rakes and implements of destruction and headed towards the police officer station. Now, friends, there was only 1 or 2 things that Obie could have done at the police station. And the first was that he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest on the telephone, which wasn't very likely, and we didn't expect it. And the other thing was that he could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again. which is what we expected. But when we got to the police officer station, there was a third possibility that we hadn't even counted upon. And we was both immediately arrested, handcuffed. And I said, Obi, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on. He said, shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car. And that's what we did. Sat in the back of the patrol car and drove to the, quote, scene of the crime, unquote. I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this happened here. They got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers, and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years. And everybody wanted to know, and they got to get the story in the newspaper about it. They was using up all kinds of cop equipment, and they had hanging around police officer station. They was taking plastic tire tracks, footprints, dog smelling prints. And they took 27 8x10 glossy photographs, colored glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. Took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not even to mention the aerial photograph. After the ordeal, we went back to the jail. Obi said he was going to put us in the cell. Said, kid, I'm going to put you in the cell. I want your I want your wallet and your belt. And I said, Obi, I can understand you want my wallet, so I don't have any money to spend in the cell. What do you want my belt for? And he said, kid, we don't want any hangings. I said, Obi, did you think I was going to hang myself for littering? Obi said he was making sure, and friends of Obi, because he took out the toilet seat, so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown. He took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, roll the toilet paper out the window, slide down the roll, and have an escape. Obi was making sure, and it was about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? There's a song about Alice. Alice came by and said with a few nasty words to Obi on the side, bailed us out of jail, and we went back to the church. Had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat. And didn't get up until the next morning when we all had to go to court. We walked in, sat down. Obi came in with a 27 8x10 glossy colored photos with the circles and the arrows and the paragraph on the back. Each one sat down. Man came in, said, all rise. We all stood up. And Obi stood up with the 27 8x10 glossy colored photos. And the judge walked in, sat down, CNI dog, and he said, Obi, he looked at the CNI dog and then looked at the 27 8x10 glossy color photos with the circles and the arrows and the paragraph on each one. And then he looked at the CNI dog and then at the 27 8x10 glossy color photos with the circles and arrows and the paragraph on the back of each one and began to cry. Because Obi came to the realization that this was a typical case of American blind justice, and there wasn't nothing he could do about it. And the judge wasn't going to look at the 27 8x10 glossy color photos with the circles and the arrows and the paragraph on the back, each one explaining what each one was, to be used as evidence against us. And we was fined $50 and had to pick up the garbage in the snow. But that's not what I came to tell you about. Came to talk about the draft. They got a building down in New York City. They call it Whitehall Street, where you walk in, you get injected, inspected, detected, infected, neglected, and selected. I went down to get my physical examination one day, and I walked in and I sat down, got good and drunk the night before. So I looked at my I looked and felt my best when I went in that morning because I wanted to look like the all-American kid from New York City. Man, I wanted to feel like I wanted to be the all-American kid from New York City. And I walked in, sat down, I was hung down, brung down, hung up, all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. And I walked in, sat down, they gave me a piece of paper and said, kid, see the psychiatrist, room 604. And I went up there and I said, shrink, I want to kill. I want to kill. I want to kill. I want to see blood and guts and gore and veins and Matisse and bleeding dead, burnt bodies. Kill. And I started jumping up and down, yelling, kill. And he started jumping up and down with me. And we were both jumping up and down, yelling, kill. And the sergeant came over and pinned the medal on me and sent me down the hall and said, you're our boy. I don't feel too good about it. Proceeded on down the hall, getting more injections, inspection, detection, neglection, all kinds of that they was doing to me and all the thing there. And I was 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was there for a long time, going through all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. And I was just having a tough time there. And they was inspecting, injecting every single part of me, and they was leaving no part untouched. Proceeded though, and when I finally came to see the very last man, and I walked in, sat down, and after a whole big thing, I walked up and said, what do you want? He said, kid, we only got one question. Have you ever been arrested? And I proceeded to tell him the story of Alice's restaurant with the full orchestration and 5-part harmony and stuff like that, and all the five, stop right there, kid. I said, kid, did you ever go to court? And I proceeded to tell him the story with the 27 8x10 glossy pictures, photos with the circles and arrows, a paragraph on each one. And he said, stop right there, kid. I said, kid, I want you to go over and sit down on that bench that says Group W. Now, kid. And I walked over to the bench there, and there's this Group W's where they put you. If you may not be moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. And there was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly looking people on the bench there. Mother rapists, father status, father rapists. And sitting right there on the bench next to me. And one, there was mean and nasty and ugly, horrible crime type guys just sitting there on the bench. And the meanest, ugliest, nasty one of them all, the meanest father raper of them all, he was coming over to me, and he was mean and ugly and nasty and horrible and all kinds of things. And he sat down next to me and said, kid, what'd you get? I said, I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage. He said, what were you arrested for, kid? I said, lettering. And they all moved away from me on the bench, and the hairy eyeballs and all kinds of mean nasty things. Till I said, and creating a nuisance. And they all came back, shook my hand. We all had a great time on the bench talking about crime, mother stabbing, father rape, and all kinds of groovy things that we was talking about on the bench. And everything was fine. We smoked cigarettes and all kinds of things. Until the sergeant came over, held up some kind of paper in hand, and he said, kids, this piece of paper got 47 words, 37 sentences, 58 words. We want to know detail on the crime, time of the crime, any other kind of thing. Yeah, I've got to say pertaining to and about the crime, and I want to know arresting officer's name and any other kind of thing you got to say. And he talked for about 45 minutes, and nobody understood a word of what he said, but we had fun filling out the forms and playing with pencils on the bench there. And I filled out the massacre with the 4-part harmony. I wrote it down just like it was, and everything was fine. And then I put the pencil and turned it over the piece of paper, and there on the other side, in the middle of the other side, away from everything else on the other side, in parentheses, capital letters, quotated, read the words, kid, have you rehabilitated yourself? I went to the sergeant and said, Sergeant, you got a lot of damn gall to ask me if I rehabilitated myself. I'm just sitting here on the bench. I'm sitting here on the Group W bench because you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids, houses, villages after being lit above. And he looked at me and said, kid, we don't like your kind. and we're going to send you fingerprints up to Washington. And friends somewhere in Washington, enshrined in some little folder, is a study in black and white of my fingerprints. And the only reason I'm singing this song to you now is because you may know somebody in a similar situation, or you may be in a similar situation. And if you're in a situation like that, there's only one thing you can do is just walk into the shrink wherever you are. Just walk in and say, "Shrink, you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant," and walk out. If you know one person, just one person does it, they may think he's really sick and they won't take him. And if two people do it in harmony, they may think they're both faggots and they won't take either of them. And if three people do it, can you imagine three people walking in, singing a bar of Alice's restaurant, and walking out? They may think it's an organization. And can you imagine 50 people a day? I said 50 people a day walking in, singing a bar of Alice's restaurant, walking out. And friends, they may think it's a movement. And that's what it is. The Alice's Restaurant Anti-Massacre Movement. And all you got to do is join in when I sing it. The next time comes around the guitar with feeling. So we'll wait till it comes around the guitar here. Here it comes. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Alice, that was horrible. If you want to end war and stuff, you got to sing loud. I can put it a lot. I've been singing this song now for 25 minutes. I could sing it for another 25. I'm not proud. We're tired. So we'll wait till it comes around again. And this time with the 4-part harmony and feeling, we're just waiting for it to come around is what we're doing now. And all right now. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Zach and Alice. You can get anything you want. I said, walk right in, it's round the back, just a half mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. At Alice's Restaurant. All right, happy Thanksgiving. See you next Thanksgiving.
Well, all right. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. 7 hours. All right, see if that did anything.